Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm loud and clear. A very warm welcome to all our parents, educators, and guests joining us today. My name is Mrs. Moneidi Omar. I serve as the head of nursery at Jaffery Academy Mombasa. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to this informative and thought-provoking webinar on the effects of screen time on children from early years to adolescence. In today's digital age, screens are an unavoidable part of children's daily lives, from playful learning apps in early childhood to online studies and social media adolescence. As parents and educators, it is important to understand both the benefits and challenges of screen use and how it impacts children's learning, behavior, emotions, and overall well-being. Today's session will help us explore these effects and provide practical tips on encouraging healthy, balanced, and mindful screen habits both at home and in school. Before we begin, allow me to share a few webinar ground rules to ensure a smooth and engaging session. Kindly ensure your microphones remain muted throughout the presentation to avoid background noise. If you have a question, please type it in the Q&A section on your screen. We will address them during the discussion segment at the end of the presentation. You may also share your thoughts or reflections in the chat box, but please keep comments respectful and relevant to the topic. The session is being recorded and a link will be shared afterward for your reference. To begin our session on a reflective and spiritual note, I would now like to invite Ms. Sukaina Hassan Ali, our nursery lead coordinator, to open the session with a reflection from the Holy Quran. Welcome, Sukaina.
Thank you, Mrs. Omar. In the name of Allah, the most kind and the most merciful. Blessed is he in whose hands is all sovereignty, and he has the power over all things. Surah Mulk, ayah number 1. It talks about barakah. Barakah is the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is well established in the deserts of hopelessness. The blessings are always there in one form or the other. The real challenge lies in laboring ourselves for this spiritual quest without losing any hope. Sadaqallahul Aliyul Azim. Thank you.
Thank you, Sukaina, for that beautiful and thoughtful reflection. May those words guide and inspire us as we begin today's discussion. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for today's webinar, Dr. Imran Versi. Dr. Imran completed his medical degree at KCMC Medical University in Moshi, Tanzania, and thereafter undertook his medical internship at Muhimbili National Hospital in Dar es Salaam. Driven by a deep interest in understanding the human mind, he went on to pursue further studies in Islamic education and psychology in Qom, Iran, which he continues to pursue online in both Persian and Arabic. He is currently in his final year of residency, completing his master's degree, thesis, and specialization in psychiatry at the University of Nairobi. We are honored to have him with us this evening to share his insights and expertise on this very timely and relevant topic. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Imran Versi by smiling behind the screen. Yeah, Dr. Imran, welcome. Welcome. Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for that warm introduction. And yeah, thank you for smiling behind your screens. And I hope you can hear me. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, loud and
Great,
clear. Yes, loud and
great,
clear.
great. Thank you so much. It's an honor for me. It's a privilege, and I'm very pleased to be here with all of you in this webinar for a topic that I feel is extremely important to address, to understand, to dissect basically, and then to come up with some sort of measures that we can take so that the youth and the adolescents, from the childhood ages to the very young ones to the youth of this generation, and the parents can benefit as well. I have tried to come up with a PowerPoint presentation. Um, I apologize in advance. I'm not very tech savvy. So if the PowerPoint does look messy, I do apologize for it. And yeah, and I'll try to even share the PowerPoint with the school as well. So to begin, I'll just try and share my screen. Right, I hope this is clear. So the topic is the effects of screen time on children. And by children, we mean from the very early years, 1, 2, 3, 4 years of age, to adolescence, be it 14, 15, 16, 18, all the way to 19 years of age as well. I would like to take us through this PowerPoint today in the following manner. Part one is introduction. Part two, I would like to touch upon the early years, ages 0 to 6. Part three would be now the school age and the youth years, 7 to 19. Four, we look into some sort of certain triggers, certain stressors, and talk about mental health and screen time. And finally, certain solutions and strategies, especially for parents and for families. To begin with, we know that screens are tools for education, for connection, and creativity. That's the good news. The bad news is that screens are not going to go away anytime soon. In fact, they're only going to get stronger and they're going to get more prevalent as the years go by. And therefore, because we acknowledge that screens are not going away, our goal, therefore, is not to eliminate something that's not going to go away. Rather, our goal is to learn how to integrate these screens into our children's lives in a way that supports their healthy mental and physical development as opposed to something that hinders their development. And screen time is not just a behavioral issue, it basically has direct and indirect consequences on the developing brain, on the child's emotional regulation, and the child's social skills. And we know that emotional regulation and social skills are built at a very younger age. Emotional regulation and social skills are not built at the age of 15, 16, rather at a very young age. We know that whenever we say screen use, we also need to understand that there are different types of screen use. Many times parents ask this question, very prevalent question, how many hours, how many times a week should I give my child to use the screen? Well, the answer is very difficult to give a one-worded answer because it very much depends on what you mean by the screen use. What type of screen use do you mean? So we have different types of screen use. Number one is called passive consumption, which is watching videos, watching movies, just scrolling through Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, etc. And this first one has the highest risk for negative effects. The second type of screen use is interactive screen use, so playing games. These games could be cognitive meaning mind stimulating or brain stimulating, Sudoku or any other such type of puzzling games. Or it could be purely reactive, you're just shooting at things. It could be either or. The third type of screen use is called creative screen use. Creative screen use is basically making digital art, coding, editing videos, and these can have certain benefits. The fourth type of screen use is communicative screen use. So video calls with family, online homework groups, group discussions, webinars like these, etc. And finally, the fifth one are educational, research, learning apps, etc. Now, the problem is that when it comes to screen use, time does make a difference, yes, but more than the time, it's the context, the content, and the connection, basically the type of screen use, which matters more than the time used. So, for example, an hour of collaborative problem solving in a game is very different from an hour of PUBG, basically. An hour of playing Sudoku is very different from an hour of playing Fortnite. These two are very different things, right? So, this is very important to note that it's not just about the time, it's also about the type of screen use. I don't want it to be very anatomical or medical or psychiatric, but there's something called the neuroplasticity principle. Basically, a child's brain is like soft clay. When the clay is soft, you can shape it and mold it to the shape that you want. A child's brain is very similar to soft clay because now, with every experience, that child's brain, like the clay, is being molded and being shaped. And so every hour spent on a screen is an hour not spent on physical play, is an hour not spent on face to face conversation and discussions, is an hour not spent just on contemplation. And all of these are very essential for a child's creativity and self reflection. Basically, the neural pathways that are used most often, they become stronger. So, in early ages, if we concentrate on discussions, face to face conversation, cognitive brain stimulating games, etc., then the neural pathways for these will become much stronger. I want to show you certain statistics. As of January 2024, Kenya had approximately 13.05 million social media users, representing nearly 25% of the total population. This is according to Global Digital Insights. And this 13 million marks a significant increase from 10 million users in January 2023. If you probably look at the 2025 and the upcoming 2026 statistics, there'll be even more. In terms of platform popularity as of January 2025, the market share distribution in Kenya is as follows. So Facebook, number one leading social media app or platform with 33% of users, followed by YouTube, 31%, then Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Instagram is also now climbing the ladder as its popularity is increasing. When you look at global statistics, you'll find that Facebook has approximately 3 billion monthly active users, with 2 billion accessing the platform daily. YouTube has around 2.5 billion active users, with 122 million daily users. Instagram as well, in the United States, it has approximately 143 million monthly active users. TikTok as well, 100 plus users in the US. Snapchat has 92.8 million, Pinterest 85 million, and LinkedIn approximately 80. So you can see that the number of people using social media platform is quite high. Now, the second part, I wanted to take us through um, the early years, which is ages 0 to 6, which is this is the time when the brain is building its foundation. The brain development in this stage. Now, there is rapid development of sensory and motor cortex, language centers, and the prefrontal cortex. Now, I don't want again to be very medical or very technical, so I'll try to explain it very briefly. Sensory and motor cortex is the first two words that you see in the first line. Basically, if I was to explain it simply, the sensory cortex is basically the ground floor. It's basically used for receiving all physical sensations from the body: touch, temperature, pressure, and pain. And the motor cortex, which is in the frontal lobe, just behind the forehead, is basically, you can call it the logistics department. So this motor cortex basically plans and executes all types of voluntary movement, from reaching out for cornflakes on the table to kicking a ball, etc. So what is the sensory and motor cortex used for? Basically, it has several uses. Number one, it's basically building, it helps in building a map of the body. So basically, this is how a child learns when their hand, where their hand is without looking at it. The child's hand is behind on the back. The child will know my hand is here without even looking at it. So these are the functions of the sensory and motor cortex. Or for example, integrating senses. So for example, it helps combine information from touch, sight, and sound to understand the world. For example, this is round. This red thing is an apple. The apple is round, etc. So it helps in developing senses. And also in mastering motor skills. So the motor cortex is responsible for a newborn baby's reflexive movements, to when it becomes a toddler, to the wobbly walk, and eventually, finally, the child's ability to write with a pencil or hit a baseball, etc., etc. Now, sensory and motor cortex, how can screen time impact these two things in the brain? How can screen time impact sensory and motor cortex? Number one, the main way that it impacts screen time can impact this is lack of practice. So, time spent just lazily in front of a screen is time not spent, as we mentioned, crawling or climbing or running or building with blocks or feeling grass or playing with the play-doh and making things. These real world activities are not just play. They are essential work that strengthens the neural connections in the sensory and the motor cortices. So this is what we mean by the sensory and motor cortex. Furthermore, at this early age, there is also development of language centers. Now, we have primarily, there are many types of language centers, but the language center is the brain's network for understanding and producing language. We have something called the Wernicke's area in the brain, in the left temporal lobe, which is the comprehension center. It's responsible for understanding spoken and written words. Then in the left frontal lobe, we have something called the Broca's area. This is the production center. It produces spoken words and written language. How can screen time impact these language centers? The main way it can impact is by something called delayed milestones. Now, without sufficient live and practical interaction, the language centers don't get the practice they need, which can lead to delays in expressive language, which is speaking, and sometimes even receptive language, which is understanding. You find that these children at a very young age who are exposed to extreme amounts of screen time, they have problems in expressing their language, in speaking, and they even have problem in receptive language, which is understanding commands and statements, etc. And finally, the prefrontal cortex, which I have put in brackets as the CEO of the brain. So prefrontal cortex is known as the chief executive officer of the brain. It is found, it is the frontmost part of the frontal lobes, and it is the most evolved part of the human brain, and it is the last to fully mature. It finishes its development until the mid 20s, 23, 24, 25 is when the prefrontal cortex now is fully matured. What is the core functions of the prefrontal cortex? Why is it called the CEO? So basically it has many uses. Number one, it is used for impulse control. The prefrontal cortex is like the brake pedal. It stops the child from stealing, from grabbing a toy from another child, or running into the street. So the prefrontal cortex tells the child that this street is dangerous, don't run into the street. Yeah. Number two, it's also used for emotional regulation. It helps manage the child's feelings like frustration, anger, disappointment, meltdowns, etc. Number three, it's used for attention and focus. It allows a child to concentrate on a task, like a puzzle, despite distraction. Sometimes when the prefrontal cortex is really working, you'll find the child is so much engrossed in an activity that even other distractions don't necessarily play a role, or they don't distract the child. Number four, the prefrontal cortex is also used in working memory. Basically, for example, following a simple two-step instruction, like please get your shoes and put them by the door. These are two instructions, but the prefrontal cortex helps basically hold that information. I was told to put the shoes, get my shoes, and number two, also put them by the door. So at a very young age, the prefrontal cortex starts developing. So the child now can take in two commands instead of one, then three commands instead of two, etc. Finally, the prefrontal cortex is also used for planning and problem solving. So making decision, figuring out how to put this puzzle where this puzzle connects here, etc., etc. Now, how does screen time impact the prefrontal cortex? Majorly by two or three things. Number one, training for instant gratification. You see, screen time, social media, internet, the digital world basically is designed for immediate response. Example, a click brings a reward. So this constant rapid fire stimulation, it trains the brain to expect instant rewards, making it harder for the prefrontal cortex to exercise the muscle of patience and delayed gratification. Basically, let me work now and then later I can get good marks so that later I can do this. This later, this patience for later is impaired when a child is exposed to extreme screen time. Number two, something called the attention hijack. Basically, fast paced content, especially certain cartoons nowadays, quick scene changes, basically. It doesn't require a child to practice attention. Instead, it hijacks their attention. So over time, this can make real world activities feel very boring. For example, like a teacher talking, reading a book, it's very difficult for them to focus because social media and screen time has given them this notion of fast paced, quick scene changing, flashing content, etc. It's very difficult for them, especially now children who have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity impulsive hyperactive impulsive disorder. It makes it just worse for them, screen time. And then the third way it also impacts the prefrontal cortex is something we call emotional dysregulation. So when a screen is used as the primary tool to calm a distressed child, the child does not learn how to use their prefrontal cortex to self-soothe. Especially parents, when they see child throwing a tantrum, emotional, immediately they give them an ipad or a laptop or a phone, thinking this will calm them down. He's crying, let this phone calm them down, not knowing that by taking the screen, it's actually not calmed the child down, it's just distracted the child. So the main reason for reasoning the child out, talking to them, trying to calm them down physically, verbally, visually, now it has all changed to the mobile phone. And this now will lead to more frequent and intense tantrums when the screen is taken away from them. Basically, it's wiring the child to think that when I am emotionally imbalanced or when I have emotional difficulties, screen time is the only solution. So basically, this is, in summary, the brain development in this stage. And these development of all these things, sensory, motor cortex, language centers, prefrontal cortex, they are very important and for language, for social attachment, and for emotional regulation as well. Summary of what I've said. So impact of screen time, especially in this age group. Number one, there is language delay, as we mentioned, the Broca's and the Wernicke's area. So screens are a poor substitute for the serve and return interactions of human speech. I talk to you, you reply me back. There's many research that links excessive screen time to delayed expressive language, to talking. Number two, the impact of screen time for that age is attention and executive function is impaired. So fast-paced, rapidly shifting content, as we mentioned, can rewire the brain to expect high levels of stimulation, making sustained attention on slower paced tasks very difficult, like a teacher reading a book, a teacher teaching, etc. Or even, for example, family discussions, family gatherings, the child will feel very bored. It's like when the grandfather is talking slowly, the grandmother is explaining a story very slowly, because they are very much used to now the rapid, fast-paced life of screen time. And so you'll find that these children no longer are interested in family gatherings as well. The family is seated in the sitting room. The child wants to just go back to the room on their phone. Number three, sensory overload and self-soothing. So screens can overstimulate the nervous system, making it harder for children to learn to calm themselves down. They may become dependent on the screen for regulation, which is a problem. And finally, social emotional skills are impaired. So reduce time for imaginative play, which is the primary way children learn to understand perspective, etc. It's very much impaired when you have a lot of screen time. There's something called specific symptoms or red flags in the early years, the ages of 4, 5, 6, 7. So, for example, when there is a lot of screen time, what symptoms or red flags do children exhibit and show? So, number one, tantrums when screen is removed that are intense and prolonged. They throw a big tantrum when the screen is removed. Number two, using screen time as the primary emotional pacifier. This is now for the parents. So, for example, when the child is throwing tantrums, is sad, etc., immediately they're given a screen. So basically, their brain is being wired to throw more tantrums or to understand later, I know my mom and dad will get tired if I throw a tantrum, and the best way to get a phone or to get the screen time is by throwing a tantrum. Number three, there's lack of interest in non-screen activities, football, volleyball, going out, family activities, bonding activities, mind-boggling or cognitive enhanced activities. There's lack of interest in them, which is a big problem now. Number four, there's poor eye contact or responsiveness when spoken to while watching a screen, what psychologists call the screen zombie effect. They don't even hear what the parents or anybody is talking to them because their full focus and attention is on the screen. Because nowadays cartoon makers are very smart. The colors they put in the cartoons, the fast-paced content they put in the cartoon, it really engrosses a child's mind to fully focus and have something called the screen zombie effect. Finally, there is delayed milestone in speech or social interaction. Sometimes parents wonder, why is it that my child is unable to speak as normally as others at this age? One of the reasons is increase in frequency in screen time. Now, there is something called the AAP guidelines recap. A number of psychologists, psychiatrists have suggested and recommended that there should be no screens other than video chatting and conversation for under 18 months of age. And then for the 2 to 5-year-olds, psychologists mentioned to limit to 1 hour per day of high quality programming co-viewed with a parent. Not just anything, but high quality programming that is co-viewed with a parent. And then the power of co-viewing is such in that when they say co-viewing with a parent is important, it is important, not just letting the child watch the thing on its own. Why? Because when the parent is seated with the child, the parent should not just use it as a babysitter. I'm just sitting and the child is doing his thing or her thing and I'm on the phone. No. But when the parent starts talking about what you are seeing with the child, for example, oh, look, the bear is sad. Why do you think he's sad? So now it improves and it enhances it stimulates the child's brain. So this turns from passive viewing into an active language rich experience. So when you're asking the child why the bear is sad, you're improving his emotional aspect of the brain, social skills in the brain, verbal stimulation of the brain, all of these things. And also the bond between the parent and the child improves when the child is talking to the child, when the parent is talking to the child as to what they are seeing. So this is also very important. The third part is now we look at the school age and the adolescent years, ages 7 to 19, where you're navigating social and academic worlds. At this age, there is a shift in screen use. There is a shift in why the screen is being used. From primarily entertainment, from the age of 4, 5, 6, where they're only watching cartoons and only watching entertainment. Now, apart from entertainment, there is also the aspect of socialization, identity formation, and also schoolwork, academic work as well. And this is the double-edged sword. Basically, it's their social lifeline, but also a source of immense pressure. And we'll discuss these pressures as we go on. What is the impact of screen time on these school age children, ages 7 to 12? The first area of impact is their academic performance. Basically, something called the displacement hypothesis. Basically, time on screen displaces time for homework, time for reading, and time for sleep. And now this is not only for children, this even as adults. How many adults cannot sleep without Instagram reels? How many adults cannot go to sleep without YouTube shorts? So this is not only for school age children, but this first aspect is really for everybody. Academic performance for children, but work for performance for adults as well. Many adults find it very difficult to wake up in the morning because they've gone to sleep early, they've gone to bed early, but by the time they go to sleep, it's 2, 3 in the morning because of the screen. Number two, the rise of gaming. We'll come to see right now there's something called internet gaming disorder, which is actually a psychiatric disorder in the ICD manual, official manual, approved by the WHO as well. Gaming disorder. Now, gaming itself has pros as well. Problem solving depends on what game you're playing. Hand-eye coordination, social connection in multiplayer games, but it also has disadvantages. Addictive design and addictive nature of the game. Exposure to toxic behavior, violent, for example, violent words, abusive language, they're all used and incorporated in these games. And finally, body image and early exposure. Even before social media, YouTube and gaming cultures can introduce unrealistic body standards and mature concepts. There's a lot of eating disorders, body image disorders because of social media. Impact on adolescents, and this is the core of the crisis. Social media and the developing self. When the adolescents and these youth from the ages of 13 to 19, based on research, but there's a lot of social media and screen use. What ends up happening, number one, is they are comparing their messy behind the scenes reality to everyone else's highlighted reel. Many people who watch vlogs, podcasts, when they watch certain vlogs which shows the high-end lifestyle of certain people. I am 15 and this is my house and this is car and this is my luxurious lifestyle and my bank balance, etc. There's two issues. Number one, these vloggers or these podcasters or these social media influencers, what children don't understand and what adolescents don't understand is that these celebrities and these social media influencers will only show the high-end lifestyle of their life in the video. They'll only show the positive aspects of their life. But nobody's life is filled with positivity. There's always certain challenges, but they won't show that in their vlogs. They won't show that in their reels. And now when the child is watching this, they think everything is hunky-dory and perfect for them. Why am I not like this? Or why is my life not similar to this life? And this now is a direct recipe for anxiety and low self-esteem because there's a lot of comparison to other people. Number two, very famous today's word, especially the Gen Zs use it a lot, FOMO, fear of missing out, a powerful driver of compulsive checking. The other people, it's a compulsion for them. Every 2 minutes, they do not have the calm and the patience to be able to leave their phone and just possibly even now there are some of you who must be scrolling through your WhatsApp and Instagram as you're watching this, maybe, but there's always this compulsive checking nature for certain people who are engrossed with screens and their phones. They have to every buzz of the phone, every ping of the phone, yeah, even if there is no ping or there's no notification, they'll always check why is there no notification. And if there is a notification, I have a powerful compulsive drive to check what is going on. And this is a problem because there is lack of attention to do other things when you are constantly focused in checking your phone. And this is what happens in this age and even in the adult's age as well, above 19 as well. And then there's something called the social validation and the dopamine loop. So likes, comments, people are now racing. I have more likes than you. In case you haven't seen your children who are 13, 14, 15, 16 talking to one another, they brag about their likes and their comments and the number of followers they have, because to their brain, it provides them rewards. And this is neurologically potent because now they are comparing the success of their life, number one, with watching vlogs. So they're comparing money equals success because this is what the vloggers and the social media influencers are telling us. And number two, success also means the number of followers I have. So basically, I am successful more than my friend, not because I am kind to others, not because I volunteer to help other people in the country or in my city, not because I'm doing good for the community, no, but because I have more likes, because I have more followers. Also, sleep crisis. Now, there's something called the blue light and melatonin. Just to explain to you, melatonin is called the darkness chemical or hormone. Some people must also know, maybe you know that there are certain people taking tablets for melatonin as well, 3 milligram, 5 milligram, either melatonin alone or even with magnesium, for example. So it improves and enhances sleep. When there's darkness, when we switch off the lights, when our retina, just a very easy explanation, basically, when our retina in our eye captures darkness, it feels and senses darkness, what ends up happening is that there's melatonin production in our brain increases. So melatonin, we all have melatonin, it's our natural chemical or hormone that increases in the pineal gland, it's produced, it increases. And now, when it increases, is now when we start to fall sleepy and drowsy, and basically we fall asleep, which is why many people sleep when the lights are switched off, because melatonin increases. Blue light. Now, the biggest source for blue light is, for example, the sun. Lights have different wavelengths, etc. Don't want to go into that discussion, but blue light, the sun is one of the primary sources of blue light. Now, screens also have blue light. Now, what screens do is at night, when your child, or even you yourself, or I myself, when I go to sleep at 10, 11, 12, and when I'm starting to use my screen, because my screen light is primarily composed of blue and mimics blue light, what ends up happening is it tricks the brain into thinking that it is still very much daytime. It's like this, it plays the role of the sun. So it's 12 a.m., but it tricks our brain into thinking it's just 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Just like the sun is primarily composed of blue light, a source of blue light, similarly, these screens also, they trick the brain into thinking that it is very much daytime now and it's not 12, which is why you'll find many people, one reel, two reels, 30 reels, 40 reels, from using your phone to 20 minutes, your brain is tricked into thinking it's not yet night, it's not yet time to sleep. And that is why many people use the phone at night for 1, 2, even 3, 4 hours before finally they go to sleep. And this is called the sleep crisis. Very prevalent in that age of 13, 14 to 19, and even in adults. Number two, under sleep crisis, you have psychological stimulation. So basically, a stressful message or an exciting video game can activate the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system, making it impossible to fall asleep. There's a lot of dopamine increase, making it impossible to fall asleep. And of course, sleep displacement. Just one more video that you tell your brain turns into 1 hour, or just 30 minutes turns into 2 hours. This is called the sleep crisis with increased screen time. Then you also have something called the attention and focus challenge. There's something called the continuous partial attention. The habit of constantly dividing attention leads to poorer quality work and an inability to engage in deep work. Habit of constantly checking your phone and doing something, checking phone and doing something. So what you are doing now will not lead to 100% quality work, as compared to somebody who leaves the phone for a couple of hours and only focuses on reading a book, doing a chore, doing something. And these notifications, they act as reward triggering centers, and they split concentration, they fragment concentration. Yeah, how many of us, many times, one ping on the phone, and some of us leave what we are doing all the way from the kitchen to the sitting room just to check who has said what, who has a relationship with what, who has done what, just because of these screen times. The second last aspect or part that I would like us to look into are I would like us to look into a psychiatric deep dive into the triggers, strength, stressors, and screen time versus mental health. Because now the screens alone are not the sole cause of mental illness. As we know, genetics play a part, environmental triggers play a part, yes, but they are a very powerful modern day stressor and trigger. They can exacerbate and worsen underlying mental health conditions. For example, anxiety disorders. Now, uh, my topic for today is not anxiety, is not depression, is not ADHD. These conditions or these diagnoses, they are a topic on its own. Basically, they are a webinar on their own. But just in summary, when you look at anxiety disorders, there's different types of anxiety. I don't know if I've put this. No, I have not put them. But basically, OCD, phobias, generalized anxiety disorder, also called GAD, social anxiety. There are different types of anxiety. Social anxiety can be both a cause and an effect. Basically, teens who are anxious may go back to their screens, but online interaction doesn't build the same skills as in-person interaction, worsening the anxiety. Basically, those people who have social anxiety and they are too much fragmented and stressed into their phones and into their screens, they lose public speaking skills, they lose social skills, and it can lead to social anxiety. So screens can be a cause of social anxiety. It could also be an effect and worsen social anxiety. Generalized anxiety as well, the constant stream of negative news and the pressure to be available full time are also significant stresses to generalized anxiety disorder. This is for adolescents and adults as well. Now, I don't want to really stress onto this because my topic is not anxiety, but anxiety, I have divided the symptoms into physical, emotional, and behavioral. Anxiety can present with a number of physical symptoms, for example, palpitations or increased heart rate, or feeling that your heartbeat is going very fast, hyperventilation, rapid breathing, sweating, trembling, muscle tension, fatigue or weakness, dizziness, GI disturbances like nausea and insomnia, difficulty sleeping. Anxiety can also be categorized into emotional symptoms such as persistent worry or fear, restlessness or feeling on the edge every time, difficulty concentrating or your mind going blank, irritability and mood changes, or feeling that something bad is going to happen. And then even behavioral symptoms such as avoidance of certain situations, certain places. So for example, certain children with anxiety, they won't go to the canteen during break time because many children are flocking there. So they'll wait for the other children to go away, then they'll go and order. Procrastination due to fear, compulsive behaviors in some anxiety disorders as well. Oh, I have mentioned the types of anxiety here. So basically, a couple of types of anxiety disorders, like generalized anxiety disorder called GAD, is a general and persistent excessive worry about day-to-day things. Then you have panic disorder. It happens in bouts. So you have panic attacks with fear and other physical symptoms like sweating a lot, heartbeat going fast. Then there's social anxiety disorder, fear of social situations and being judged by others. People with social anxiety disorders aren't able to participate in public speaking, debate, or being a prefect in school, for example, etc., etc. And then phobias are also a type of anxiety, the intense and irrational fear of specific objects or situations, for example, claustrophobia, fear of closed spaces, fear of heights, fear arachnophobia, fear of spiders, for example, etc. And then OCD, very common in 16, 17, 18-year-old, more girls than boys. And also in adults, where you have obsessions like repetitive thoughts and compulsions to do something. And then PTSD, usually PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is also a type of anxiety disorder that follows a traumatic event. Like, for example, you're witnessing a burglary, or you've witnessed an attack, or you have witnessed some trauma, tragic and traumatic event. So that leads to PTSD, which is a type of anxiety. So point here is that screen time can either cause anxiety or it can worsen anxiety. Also, depression, another mental health condition linked to screen time use. There's a direct link between time on social media and reported unhappiness. Because as we said, people look into these celebrities' lives and they feel the pressure to be like them, to act like them, and they feel that they don't have value in life because they haven't achieved what the celebrities have achieved or what these social media influencers have achieved. So the depression won't happen obviously overnight, but there is innate and internal unhappiness day one, day two, a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months down the line. Eventually it can predispose that person to getting a depressive disorder even in the future, even 10, 12, 15 years down the future. Sometimes you ask people, he's 30 or she's 30 years old, but she or he has a perfect life. Why are they being treated with antidepressants? Why are they being treated for depression? Their current life is very good. But when you go back and you look back into their adolescent life and into their age when they were growing up, you found there could be abuse. There could be so many factors that leads them to get depression after 15, 20 years. Number three, cyberbullying. There's a profound and inescapable stressor with serious consequences. Cyberbullying is and misinformation, and people who are basically looking for these things. They are called those people who are scavengers, for example. Cyberbullying is extremely common for those people who use a lot of social media. A lot of people who have even attempted suicide because of cyberbullying. There's displacement of mood boosting activities, less time for physical activity, less time for hobbies, less time for physical friendship, which are all, and all of these, by the way, are natural antidepressants. Just like, for example, uh, having fruits, for example, is a very good, vitamin C is a good immunity booster. Similarly, friends, exercise, hobbies, physical activities are all natural antidepressants. They very much increase serotonin in our brain. Also, ADHD and executive dysfunction. Again, ADHD is another whole webinar on its own, but screens can worsen symptoms of inattention and impulsivity in those with ADHD. We know ADHD has a genetic component as well. So if somebody has parents or grandparents who had ADHD, there's a high increased risk that one of the child or more than one child will have ADHD as well. And they can also create an acquired attention deficit in children without the diagnosis. So even if you don't have ADHD, it can still, the child can still have symptoms of attention deficit even without having a diagnosis of ADHD. So you find my child is very attention deficit, like he can't sit still in one place. So this could be ADHD, but also it just could be plain attention deficit, because the brain is adapted to high stimulus environments like screen time. What can trigger problematic use? What can trigger too much social media, too much screen time use? Number one, underlying issues like a child using screens to escape from real world problems. So for example, if there is domestic violence at home, the father beats the mother abuses the father, that child now will want to escape from real world problems by using the screen. Academic stress, social difficulties, family conflict like domestic violence, or untreated anxiety or depression. When a child has these things and these external triggers, you'd find that they prefer to use screens to escape from real world problems, not realizing that they are trying to escape real world problems by using something that will create even more problems for them. So that's number one thing that can trigger problematic use. Number two, lack of alternatives. So no access to extracurricular activities. There is no safe outdoor spaces. There is no encouragement of offline hobbies. The parents don't push the child. Why don't you go for football on Tuesdays? Why don't you do this on Thursdays? Why don't we come up with a timetable of what sports or what exercise or what hobbies you like doing, so we can make a timetable? So this is a problem. When a child has no access to extracurricular activities, they will end up using screens as a mode of doing something, so their brain is occupied with something. And finally, parental modeling. If the child mimics what he or she sees from the parents, if the parents are abusive and they use abusive language, the child will not grow up reciting qasida. This is a very simple and a straightforward, logical, no need for being a scientist. It's a very obvious fact. If parents are constantly on their devices, dinner table, when the child comes home, children learn that this is the norm, and this is very normal for us to be all on our phones. And basically, children learn phone screen time usage from their parents. Either the parents use them themselves, or two, the parents give it to them without supervision. And these are the two things that lead to screen time addiction, and then lead to brain development being impaired, future risk of anxiety, depression, etc., etc. Finally, bring us to the last part. I think I've spoken for very long. Haha, 50 minutes. Okay. Part 5, solutions and strategies, or a practical toolkit for families. There are many possible solutions. Maybe even you can guide us. We can learn from each other, maybe what you as parents have done. This is very good. And these webinars are very important because Q&A is not only for questions. Maybe you can share something that you have done as well, or something that you are going through, that and something else that has helped you in them. Overcoming that difficulty. So number one is to shift the mindset from policing to mentoring. The role of a parent for a child who is in their early years, the role of a parent is a gatekeeper. And in adolescence and youth years, the role of a parent is that of a coach or a mentor. Early years gatekeeper, basically try to stop thieves and other illegal and unwanted things from entering into your child's mind, brain, and space. This is your role, to be as a gatekeeper. And then in later years, in adolescence, now your gatekeeper role is over, because now the role that you had to play as a gatekeeper to stop other unwanted things to come inside is over. Now your role is that of a coach. Now your role is that of a mentor. Now your role is that of a friend. So the goal is to teach them digital literacy and self-regulation from a very early age, not the age of 14, 15. This is quite late. I'm not saying it's the end of the world and it's very late for some parents who did not do this. It's not the end of the world, but it's going to become even more difficult if the coaching was not done in the early ages. Number two, family media plan. Basically advocate for creating one together. When the child is watching something alone, it's very different from when the family are watching it together. So when we create some tech-free zones, so for example, on the table, no phones allowed on the table. Yeah, especially at night, at sleeping time, we charge our phones on this room or this area, but nobody's sleeping with their phones in the bedroom. Or when the child comes back from school, the first hour, no phone. We sit, we talk, we discuss the day, we discuss homework, we discuss other things. We do other games, we play different activities, but no mobile phones. When a parent tries to create the family media plan, I've just made this up, family media plan, but basically a family time whereby there is tech-free zones, there's screen-free zones and screen-free times, it creates a bigger impact in the child. Number one, it shows them that the whole world doesn't revolve around the screen. And number two, the bond it creates, the cognitive stimulation for the brain, the social skills that the child develops is intense. And screen curfews, for example, at least 1 hour before bedtime, no mobile phones, or from dinner time to sleeping time, no mobile phone. You get your phone 1 hour a day, for example, from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, you do what you want, give it back. Or you want to play FIFA or PUBG or whatever, this is the weekend time, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, an hour and a half, and then that's it. This works a lot better than just giving them. Now children are addicted to gaming disorders the entire night. 8 hours PUBG, 12 hours Fortnite. Brings a big issue to the child's mental health. Number three, promote the good stuff. You know, some people think boredom is bad. So no, boredom to certain extents, idleness or boredom to certain degrees also is important, because boredom is a cradle of creativity. You don't need to feel the need, you do not feel the need to fill every moment with an activity or screen time. Sometimes you could just be sitting with your child on the sofa, doing nothing, basically, doing nothing. And then that idleness for 15, 20 minutes, it sparks a conversation, etc., etc. Schedule unstructured play and outdoor time, family connection rituals, you know, game nights, walks, cooking together, but importantly, without screens, without mobile phones. And number four, how do we talk about it, especially with teens? Using open-ended questions is better. For example, how does spending time on TikTok make you feel? Instead of you're wasting your time on that app. They get reactive. No, but I'm doing this, I'm doing educational things. No, these are now for the adolescents, right? For 16 to 18, 19 years. So in talking to them, having open-ended questions, discussing with them very academically the impact of social media, giving them live case scenarios is better than just saying you're wasting time. This is for the adults now, because by this time, hopefully, the parents would have given them the training of no mobile phones, etc. So at the age of 16, 17, 18, 19, this is the age where we discuss with them rather than just tell them yes or no. Express curiosity, not judgment. I have noticed that game seems really exciting. Can you teach me how to play? So the child starts teaching the parent how to play. The parent can play with the child. And then slowly, slowly, put in some filters. For example, this game is boring, doesn't teach us anything. Why don't we play a game called, let's say, Sudoku? It's really, you know, mind interactive, etc. It's cognitive. So let us play this game. Playing with the child, especially the younger age now, is much better than giving the phone to the child. Play what you want. Yeah, word games, etc. Validate their world. Acknowledgement that this social life and social media and screen life is also important to them, and this builds trust and makes them more receptive to your guidance. These are basically just four general strategies or a practical toolkit for families to apply. Finally, what I had mentioned, internet gaming disorder. WHO, DSM-5 have already incorporated this. There are people who, now, those people who play 1 hour a day, 1 hour a week, or few hours a week, I'm not talking about them, but I'm talking about those people who have been exposed to screen time without moderation from such a young age that now you have 11, 12, 13-year-olds who have internet gaming disorder. What are their symptoms? Preoccupation with gaming. The entire day, their focus is only gaming. These are scary disorders. Withdrawal symptoms when gaming is taken away or not possible. Just like you have alcohol withdrawal symptoms or marijuana withdrawal symptoms, where you stop alcohol suddenly, you start having tremors, etc., etc. Similarly, when the game is taken away from them, they have withdrawal symptoms, sadness, anxiety, mood outbursts, irritability, etc. When there's no electricity, for example, they get very anxious and irritable. Number three, tolerance, which is the need to spend more time gaming to satisfy the urge. Just like alcohol addiction doesn't occur in day one or week one. You'll need one glass, then you'll need two glasses to feel the same high, then three glasses, then four glasses. This is what we call tolerance. And tolerance then leads to addiction. So so first they'll spend only 30 minutes and they'll be good. They'll feel satisfied they've played. But then that 30 minutes they'll need 1 hour to feel the same way. They'll need 2 hours, then three, then four, all the way up to 10, 12. Inability to reduce playing, unsuccessful attempts to quit gaming, similar to substance use addiction. Those people who are chronic cigarette smokers, for example, they'll try to quit, but then they are unable. They are unsuccessful and they'll start smoking again. Similarly, with internet gaming disorder, inability to reduce playing, unsuccessful attempts to quit gaming. Number five, giving up other activities or loss of interest in previously enjoyed activities due to gaming. This loss of activities in previously enjoyed activities is what we call in medical terms anhedonia. It's one of the symptoms of depression as well. Like this person used to enjoy playing football, suddenly he stopped playing football. One of the reasons is this internet gaming disorder, where they give up other activities, they give up cleanliness, they give up making their room, they give up everything else, even studying, because they are engrossed in just playing. Continuing to game despite problems. Deceiving family members or others about the amount of time spent on gaming. It's very similar to gambling as well. The use of gaming to relieve negative moods such as guilt or hopelessness. And finally, taking risk or having jeopardized or even lost a job or relationship due to gaming. So these, according to the World Health Organization and the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Psychiatric Conditions, are the symptoms of internet gaming disorders in the 21st century. In 2025, this is prevalent, especially in the United States, and it's creeping. The effects are creeping up into East Africa and into other parts of the world as well. And this was my presentation with you all today on the effects of screen time on children. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me, and I will hand it back over to the admin. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Imran. We truly enjoyed and greatly benefited from today's session. You have addressed our objectives thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly. We are really excited. In fact, we were just chatting on the side and saying, no, we will need him to come in again, maybe for another topic or so. It's been powerful. It's been inspiring. It's very good. We've taken away so much. Personally, I've taken away, we as educators, in fact, and caregivers, we should be gatekeepers during the early years. As educators, we need to educate the parents as well. And then as they move to middle childhood and adolescence, we need to be mentors and ensure that in early years there's co-viewing so that the children are not left on their own, so that they are not passive but active. It's been very wonderful having you with us, powerful, and we truly appreciate you being with us and accepting this invitation to be our speaker today. I would now like to invite Ms. Nahida, our nursery school coordinator, to lead the question and answer session. Ms. Nahida.
Thank you, Mrs. Omar. Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to all of you. So I would like to open the floor for the questions. And if you have any question about the webinar, please feel free to type them down in the Q&A, and then I will forward them to Ms. Dr. Imran, and we will be able to answer as many questions as possible. So the floor is open.
Okay, Nahida, let me just start. I'm able to unmute, so let me just start with my question to Dr. Imran. Dr. Imran, we've seen that countries like India have now brought in education where they educate children at an early age to not use mobile phones at all, to not use screen at all. And very clear at the beginning that we can't do away with screen. Screen is there. But of course used in a limited way, not to expose the children too much to screen. In school, we also have smart boards. Some schools have flat screens, and teachers also use these screens. So to the parents, we usually advocate and tell them lessen screen time. But here we see other countries who are saying no screen time. We are in the 21st century. Technology has advanced, so we have mixed emotions. Should we not? But again, it's something that's there, whether we use it or not, they will definitely use it. So maybe touch a bit on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you're absolutely right. As I said in the beginning as well, and I think you also mentioned it in the introduction, screens are there. We cannot run away from screens. We cannot run away from internet. We cannot run away from technology. In fact, I also mentioned that, as we mentioned, the early childhood is a period where the brain is rapidly developing. And in that period, it is very important for screen time to be replaced with physical activities, with cognitive learning, with social emotional skills. And excessive screen time is now linked to whatever I mentioned, shorter attention span, or for example, insomnia, etc., etc. So when you mention smartboard, so basically what I would like to touch upon is that we need to use technology as a tool, not a toy. We use technology as a tool, a tool, not a toy. So basically what we are doing is we are amplifying and using that tool to express and improve the social, emotional, physical skills of a child. If we are using technology as a tool, then that's a wonderful thing. But if we start using technology as a toy, then that becomes a problem. So this is the summary of what I would like to mention.
Thank you so much. And yes, I believe we've been on the right track, because we've been telling the parents, you need to use it deliberately. It should be for a purpose, not just leisurely, with the children. My other question was on virtual autism. I know this is a wide topic, and you clearly mentioned that these are topics that we have to maybe touch on them later. But we've had rampant cases of, the early years section. So we've had many students coming in, and we are deliberating. It could be autism, it could be ADHD, though we recommend assessment. But we've seen this on the rise, like virtual autism is on the rise. And we know this is definitely due to screen, you know. So how much or what should parents do to ensure? And clearly mentioned that before the age of 2, if you can do away with screen, do away with screen. Would that help?
Yeah, so the problem is that if it's ADHD, ADHD brains, they crave dopamine. They love dopamine because the ADHD brain has lower levels of dopamine. Dopamine is basically a neurotransmitter that is linked to motivation, reward, energy, focus, etc. So the problem with these devices, screen time, is they provide immediate high intensity dopamine. They provide like an arrow of dopamine, which the brain craves, and then it takes it away from that. So screens are very hyper stimulating, especially for ADHD. And just to, with your permission, I've also, because this question is linked to another one as well, that somebody had asked, that if the child has screen addiction, what is the practical, what can be done? So because the brain craves dopamine, so what we can do is, number one, try to replace that phone with another thing that will stimulate their dopamine. Now, I'll give an example. For example, cigarette smoking. There's two ways to stop smoking. One is called the gradual method. You are taking 10 cigarettes a day. Now you go 8, you go to 6, 4, 2, etc. And the second thing is called going cold turkey. You stop today, you have said, I want to stop cigarette, that's it. And you stop completely. Interestingly, according to research for cigarette smoking, I'm only mentioning about cigarette smoking. For cigarette smoking, there have been more success rates for those people who go to cold turkey method. That means that those people who stop abruptly and immediately have higher rates of success than those people who go gradually. But for screen time, going cold turkey is not the recommended method. Yeah, don't go cold turkey. Basically, if you abruptly remove screens, so for those people who have, those children who have screen addiction, abruptly removing the screen is like detoxing from a drug, and will cause extreme backlash and backfire. It will backfire and it will cause extreme behavior, tantrums, irritability, etc. Instead, the best method is to gradually reduce screen time. Yeah. So for example, use a timer they can see. Tell them you have 20 more minutes. Once it goes red, you have 5 more minutes. That's it. The second method that psychologists from Oxford recommend is reduce time by 15-minute increments every few days. So for example, if if they're used to 1 hour or 1.5 hours, then after a few days, decrease it to 1 hour, 20 minutes, or 1 hour, 15 minutes. So that's the best method, number one. So number one is don't go cold turkey. Number two is replace it with something else. Don't just remove it, because as I'd mentioned, that these games provide a spark of dopamine, like a dopamine injection. If you are going to remove it and not replace it with anything, then that dopamine will be very low and they'll crave it more and more. So do not create a vacuum in the child's brain. Basically, the brain now needs a new source of engagement and dopamine. Yeah, have an instead lift. So instead of doing this, we're going to do this. We're going to build a Lego tower for those younger ones. We're going to play football for the older ones, etc., etc. And also bridge it with physical activity. Physical activity, exercise, gymming has been proven by research to be a natural dopamine booster. In fact, some of my patients with depression as well, exercise and physical therapy, yoga especially, has worked wonders for them. In fact, there are people who are into exercise, physical activity, and yoga. After 3 months, I myself had to start tapering and reducing their antidepressant doses for them. And currently, they are not on any medications. So replacing it with a physical activity. Number one, don't go cold turkey. Number two, replacing, not leaving a vacuum. And number three, prepare routines and visual schedules, especially with children with ADHD and screen addiction. Basically, they thrive on predictability. So when you create a daily schedule or a daily timetable, they know that just now from this time to this time I have homework, especially ADHD, because they're very attention deficit. When this is done, I have 30 minutes of this and this and this. So it removes the daily negotiation and the power struggles between a parent and the child. No, you have to do this now, but I don't want to do this. No, you follow the timetable. This is what the timetable tells you. You finish this, and then immediately after this, you'll do something that you like for a certain amount of time. So these are, and then of course, long-term treatment methodologies are number one, formal diagnosis, be it autism, be it ADHD, be it screen addiction. There are many schools now that have an on-school psychologist or on-school counselor, and then the counselor then basically tries to come up with certain, identifies basically that this person has a problem, and then takes it further to the psychologist. If there is need for medication, then the psychiatrist. A psychologist does so many things: behavioral therapy, family therapy, etc. So nothing basically can go against professional medical advice. So these are a couple of pointers that we can take into consideration.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Imran. I believe you've also answered the question that Tahira has asked on the screen addiction. We will move on to another question that says, since screen time isn't recommended before age 2, is it okay to use audio only, like songs, stories, or educational sounds, to help with learning or language development?
Yes, audio therapy has been proven as well to be a very strong tool, especially improving. Now, if it is combined with verbal, then this is the best combination. So, for example, when the child hears something in the audio, and now the parent or the teacher is asking the child, what did you hear? What happened? Be it stories, be it whatever. If the child is now able to give the summary of what they heard, you are building both. You're hitting two birds with one stone, basically. You are also improving their social skills, their hearing skills, and their emotional skills. So yes, if it's combined, it's one of the best methods.
Okay, thank you. There is another question that says, I have worked as a global online tutor in the UK-based company, and I work with occasionally, which organizes 3 to 4 hours revision sessions with 10 minutes intervals every half an hour. What are your views on the effects of this?
I have every half an hour revision sessions with 3 to 4 hours revision sessions with 10-minute intervals every half an hour. It depends what are those 10 minutes used for, but yes. So instead of doing something continuously for 3 to 4 hours, research has also shown different ages, our concentration and attention span is very different. So as if I get this correctly, if there is a half an hour session of learning and then there is a 10-minute interval every half an hour, then this is also what is recommended in the psychological literature as well: 30 to 40 minutes with a 10 to 15-minute break. So if this is what's going on, then this is also research backed as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, one of the emerging issues arising in the world is the increased use of screen time within schools, especially after the pandemic and also technology advancements. And there is a lot of focus on digital literacy in the 21st century learner. Is it a rising challenge considering traditional learning methods are slowly fading and we are creating awareness on the effects of screen time?
Yes, it is a rising challenge, and we need to create awareness on the effects of screen time. But as I mentioned in the very first slide, um, in which I had written, the answer is there, that our goal is not to eliminate screen time, but to learn how to integrate them in our children's lives in a way that supports their healthy development, social, emotional, physical, rather than hindering their development. So you are right. Yes, there's a lot of focus on digital literacy in the 21st century learner. It's a rising challenge. However, we just need to be cautious and take steps, especially till the ages of 14, 15, to be able to explain to them the effects, but not take it away from them. If we have such tools, then after the age of 15, 16, or 18, then that youth, adolescent, that youth will be fully equipped to take on different challenges.
Okay. Another question is, what if you use your phone? Yes, Mrs. Omar.
Yeah, maybe just to add on what Dr. Imran has mentioned, clearly stated earlier, like it is here, screens are here, it's inevitable, we can't do away with them. The only thing is, and the question is asking on traditional teaching methods. We can't do away with traditional teaching methods. We have to have a balance between digital literacy or using digital tools and the traditional. That's where the practical sense even comes in, and very clearly stated earlier that yes, we are using screen, but can we also involve them in other activities where there's that human contact, So even Microsoft states clearly that you cannot do away with traditional teaching methods. So there has to be a balance for a teacher. Yes, thank you.
Okay, another question was, what if you use your phone as a toy and a tool?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. There are many very nice games right now in mobile phones, in the apps, that can improve somebody's learning, language, vocabulary, spelling, etc. So if you're using this as both in the right manner, there's no issue. But obviously, nothing can be an alternative to also physical activity, to also going out in nature and doing things. So if you're doing both, then that's fine.
Okay, another question says, how do we know if screen time is affecting our child's mood, or if their mood is what's making them use screens more? And if we know which comes first, mood or screen time, does it change how we should help our child?
Yes, it's a very nice question. So there's something called screen regulator, screen disruptor. So if you know, one of the worst ways that, or one of the most common ways that a child exhibits mood changes is frustration, irritability, fighting with a sibling, hyperactivity, etc. One of the best ways to know which comes first, mood or screen time, does it change how we should help our child? Yes. So if screen, you need to check if the screen is the regulator. So basically, the moment the screen goes off, the original mood and drama and tantrums return. Yeah, so you know that this screen now, the irritability, the whining, so basically they are withdrawing from their coping tool. The moment the screen is off, they are back to their bed. Or if the screen is the disruptor, so the post-screen meltdown is less about the original mood and more about the neurological whiplash. What I mean by this is that the child is irritable, defiant, and unable to focus on anything less stimulating. So the brain has been rewired for high speed. This is where now addiction and tolerance is about to happen. If you see that your child is not interested in any other activity apart from screen, there is a problem. If your child does not have the same attention span in doing other activities as and when he or she is watching screen time, there is a problem. So we need to be able to figure out as parents. So that is why this balance is very important. Screen time, as we mentioned, we can't run away from it. But if we strike a balance, it is very important. How do you know screen time is affecting? Mostly with moods and tantrums. This is what the younger ages present with. Mood, irritability, anger, outbursts. Then when you come to the older age groups of adolescence, is what now you look at the symptoms of IGD, internet gaming disorder. They have anhedonia, which is lack of interest in any other activities that they once found enjoyable. Yeah, my child used to love doing this. Now the whole day is on the screen. He doesn't like this anymore. This isn't interesting anymore for him. He used to love going out for camping trips, night outs, hiking with his friends. Now, every Sunday he sits at home, he's on the game. So now it depends on the age group. Younger age group, more of mood. Older age group, more of physical symptoms as well. So these are the two things we need to watch out for.
Okay, thank you. One last question, and that is, at what age should we get a phone?
To be honest, this is a question. These are the most common questions and is the toughest question. I really can't answer it with an age, because the right age, I'll tell you, the right age isn't about the number, isn't about 9 years old or 11 or 15 years old. It's about the child's maturity, responsibilities, and the family or the parents' involvement in that phone. This is very important. So, okay, I don't want to give you a right wing, left wing answer. According to childhood specialists, if you want one answer, then the answer according to child specialists is 14. If you want one answer. However, it can also be 13, it can also be 15, depending on number one, the child's maturity and responsibility, and number two, how involved are the parents in creating that routine and timetable for their children. Because if the parents aren't, then even 14 is not the right age. If there are, even 13 could be the right age. But on average, according to child psychologists, they say between the ages of 13 to 15, 14 is the average in the textbooks.
Okay, thank you. There is one last one that says, more and more young children are seen wearing glasses in recent times. You need to say something on the impact of screen time on the eyes.
Yes, the screen time does have an impact on the eyes, and there are a number of people, as I mentioned, that in the IGD, one of the symptoms is also physical symptoms. Apart from the reason, if I put this as number one, the worst thing that can happen to a child when they are playing games or too much screen time is impact on eyes. Somebody came and told me, yes, but that can be solved with eyeglasses. You get me? So which is why I have not put this as the top of my list, but more of mental and mood changes are prevalent. But yes, you are definitely right. Screen time doesn't have an impact on the eyes, and this is one of the physical symptoms of overusing screen time. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Imran. I believe you've answered most questions and all questions. In case anybody has any other question, feel free. You can inbox us, text us. We will get back. I would like to give this opportunity to Mrs. Omar.
Thank you, Nahida. Thank you so much.
You.
And thank you, Dr. Imran, for handling the questions very well. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the head of junior school, Miss Sabina. Miss Sabina, would you like to say something? Just 2 minutes, because we don't have much time, and then we can have the closure. One parent, I believe, had asked if we are sharing the presentation of the recording. We will share the recording on our YouTube page, and we will also share the link on our social media pages. So Miss Sabina, games that one is asking about, games children should play. Educational games are good for children because we want them to learn. They are also therapeutic in a way if they play the games, and you can have an enjoyable game, but not too much. So we have to create the balance, inshallah. Miss Sabina, Mohammed Abbas, are we able to enable Miss Sabina's microphone? So
the microphone, she's on. She should be able to speak. She has to unmute herself.
Miss Sabina, to you. Miss Sabina, head of junior school. Okay, so I'll now invite Miss Sukena Sanali, lead coordinator nursery, for the closure. And should Miss Sabina be able to say something, we will give her at least a minute or two. Miss Sukena, welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Omar. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. I hope you all found today's
Hello?
session informed. Hello, Miss Sabina?
Okay, Miss Sabina is here,
Yes.
so yeah. Miss Sabina, proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Sorry, I just got off the meeting for a bit, but I got the last part. I'd like to really appreciate Dr. Imran for the wonderful message that you put across. As a school, we've been very huge proponents of talking about the effects of screen timeout. And we know most parents who are here would also agree that it's quite a challenge, even back at home. We notice that the same, if we speak the same language together as a family, as communities, then we are in a better position to change the next generation. We happened to be in a seminar yesterday that was talking about sustainability. And I believe as parents, as educators, we are in a better position to create sustainable practices that will enable these children be great global citizens in future. We notice a lot in class, in school, to do with the effects of this on brain development. And I really appreciate the fact that Dr. Imran, you've reiterated on the brain and the functions of different parts. Much as I know there's been a lot of technical jargon regarding the brain, but I'm sure the message has been driven home. One of the key things that we also talk about in junior school is to do with the prefrontal cortex that you've also mentioned, the part that deals with the time management, organization, and so many other things. So we notice as we continue that this part of the brain is greatly hindered because we can see from the children that they're not able, especially to do with adolescents, they're not able to manage their time well. There's a lot of disorganization. They can't organize themselves well. And I know it has to do with screen time and the fact that you've also mentioned the bit of the dopamine, which if it's not there, then you find that they're all over the place. So we see this, and from an educational perspective, we can say that we have evidence of that because we stay with these kids much in school, so we notice a lot of these things. So I guess the onus, the impetus is on us that as parents we shift our habits, as educators, we shift our habits. We have one vision in terms of how sustainable are the practices that we are modeling to the children. I like the fact that you mentioned that one of the things that we can do is at home set screen time, but at the same time, when you set screen time, as a parent, you also don't hold the phone, yet you're telling the children that no time off, and yet you have a phone for maybe an extended period of time. So if we model very good behaviors, very good practices at home, the children will learn that because remember, we are creating sustainable practices. Um, One of the things that I also picked up from you was the screen zombie effect, the delayed speech, which is something that Ms. Omar will also agree with me when we have kids coming in for entrance exams. We normally experience that a lot, especially in the days that in these days that we precede. So thank you so much for that very informative training. And we hope that we'll carry the same message to our parents, especially those who missed today's session and the teachers as well. Asante, Mwanaidi and Dr. Imran.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Sabina. There are a few questions here and questions, answers on how much maximum screen time. Some is saying 1 hour, 2 hour. I believe that was touched on this presentation today, and we will share, inshallah. You'll be able to get exactly how long should one be on screen or children should be on screen. I've seen the lead coordinator, junior school, Ms. Sukeina Katau. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for acknowledging that this was an informative talk. To Dr. Imran, Jazakallah, thank you so much. May Allah bless you for being with us this evening. We've taken you out of your busy schedule and you've been with us. We truly appreciate. I'll now invite Ms. Sukaina
Appreciate.
Hassan Ali for the closure. Ms. Sukaina.
Thank you, Mrs. Omar. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone, once again. I hope you all found today's session informative and helpful. On behalf of Jaffery Academy, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Imran Versi for his time and effort in preparing and delivering this insightful webinar. We have truly gained a wealth of knowledge, and I am sure everyone will agree that it was an enlightening and engaging presentation. Your knowledge and experience have been invaluable to us. A heartfelt thank you to all our parents, educators, and guests for taking the time to join us for this webinar. Your participation and engagement make sessions like this so meaningful. We would also like to extend our appreciation to the organizing team and the IT support team for their dedication and smooth coordination in making this webinar a success. As we conclude, let us carry forward today's lesson to guide our children with mindfulness, balance, and care in this digital age. Together, we can help them build healthy habits and a strong foundation for lifelong learning and well-being. As Mrs. Omar said, a recording of the webinar will be available on our YouTube page. Thank you once again to all participants for attending. We truly appreciate your time and support, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar, inshallah. Wishing everyone a blessed day ahead. Thank you.